Everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news. I hope you're all doing well. Lots to get into this morning. We're talking about the dates confirmed for the tour of Australia, and they're going to Bangkok as well. We did talk about that yesterday. It's now been confirmed by Manchester United. Also, Harry Maguire has come out. Apparently, he's going to not be on social media anymore. We've also got updates on Bruno Fernandes, contract signed. Manchester United's number one target is Declan Rice. We'll get into that. Manager update as well. Does Marcus Rashford want to leave the football club? And a few other bits to get into. So lots to get into today. We've also got a preview coming up this afternoon. Man United are back playing football. Don't know whether I'm excited about that. I probably would have been more excited about the Leicester game if I knew who the manager was for next season. I still think that we're still in this uncertainty. And I just want to start off by saying Bruno Fernandes' new contract. I think it's a good thing, but I've never been so unexcited about a top player signing a new contract. I'm just like, I really have got no emotion to Bruno signing a new contract. And that's really sad because he's one of my favourite players. But I think it just symbolises where this football club is. And Manchester United Football Club need to realise that the fan base at the moment is just very, very lethargic. Bruno signing a new contract for 5 years should be really good news. And I'm just like, the club's flat at the moment. I mean, look, take away all the news about the manager. If we get Pochettino, the club's flat. If we get Ten Hag, there's excitement. But the reality is we've got neither at the moment. So despite all the noise, the last thing that's happened to United was getting knocked out of the Champions League. And it's sometimes hard to forget that. But that was the last thing that happened. And I just want to say this right at the start of the show. It might interest people, it might not interest people. But I get a little bit tired of people going on about fans that moan are toxic and negative. I've never heard such crap in all my life. I grew up as a Manchester United fan with Sir Alex Ferguson doing interviews, telling us, teaching us what the standards of this football club are in relation to how we play and how we must win and how second place is nowhere. This football club and some of our fans seem to want to celebrate mountains and valleys, peaks and troughs. Oh, that's what it's all about. No. I'll tell you what and why I moan. Because my understanding from people like Roy Keane and Sir Alex Ferguson over the years is that, you could put the world in my hands and it'd never be enough. Like, that's it. You win the treble and you want to do it again. God, I'd do anything to win the FA Cup at the moment, let alone a league title or a Champions League. But my mentality as a fan is, as a Manchester United fan, the world is never enough. Like, you put the world in my hands, it's never enough. I want more. And that mentality, that should be on the door of Old Trafford's, that should be on the dressing room wall. The world is never enough. Like, you've got to go for more. But it's not. It's mountains and valleys, peaks and troughs, FC. That's what we're all about. And you can stick up for these players. You can stick up for this club. You can do whatever you bloody well like because that's your standards. Don't argue with people who have high standards about what this football club should be. Don't tell them how to support this club. Don't tell them that they can't critique what's not good enough. I will stand up for that and many other people will stand up for that. Because the minute we lose our standards, we become what we are over the last 5 years. I am not celebrating and applauding mediocre shit performances. The standards of this football club should be up here. And as I said, the world's not enough for Man United. We go again, we go again, we go again. We're fucking celebrating mountains and valleys. I don't want that. And that's not negative and it's not toxic. You want to clap shit players. You want to clap a club that's not won anything in 5 years. Piss off, back down to the Championship. That's not what Manchester United is, in my opinion, and I will not be called out for it. It's not toxic, it's not negative. If anything, it's brave to shout what the standards should be when they've not been there for so long. Right, let's get on with the show. But things like that should be on the bloody dressing room wall. The world is never enough. Like, you've got to go for more. Put the world in my hands and I want more. Come on. Not fucking mountains and valleys. Fed up of this weak mentality that this football club seems to promote. Anyway, let's get on with the show. First thing I want to talk about is Declan Rice. Fabrizio Romano came out last night and said that Declan Rice is Manchester United's number one transfer priority. I could go further than that and say that Declan Rice, Manchester United will bid for Declan Rice. They are going to bid for Declan Rice. Effectively, they have bid. They've made it very clear to Declan Rice that they want him. They've made it very clear to Declan Rice that they will bid for him. And effectively, Manchester United have put a bid in for Declan Rice because they've said we want you. You are our number one target. We will go all in for you. All you've got to do is say the word. So this is West Ham will make it difficult. I think that's very, very clear. They will want money, of course. They will not want 150 million. They will. I hate to disappoint West Ham fans here, but you will not get 100 million. And West Ham will not demand 100 million. I think this deal will be done somewhere between 80 and 90. Because I think West Ham are realistic. They need to generate funds themselves. They also know that Declan Rice has probably stayed a year longer than he should have done, and his contract is running down further and further. I think the only thing that would keep Rice at West Ham is if they get Champions League football, which is very unlikely, although they still are in the Europa League. So I think Declan Rice will be on the move this summer. Manchester United have made it very clear that they want Declan Rice. I mean, we've got a massive hole in the centre defensive midfield position, and he would be a viable option for it. So Man United want Declan Rice. I mean, on a different day, this might be absolutely huge news, but it is. But obviously, our mind is on the manager stuff, which I'll talk about in a minute. The bottom line with Declan Rice, and you can like it or lump it, but it's fact. If Chelsea want him, he'll go to Chelsea. Chelsea is the dream move for Declan Rice. It always has been. It's well understood why that is. Chelsea's his club. It's in London, and he'd love to go and play for Chelsea. But if Chelsea don't want him, Man United have got an opportunity. Manchester City might want him. Pep Guardiola's a fan. I would say I'd go to Man City over Man United, but we have beat Man City in transfer races before. But ultimately, if Chelsea are in the race, we won't get him anyway. If Chelsea aren't in the race, there's an opportunity. But United can only do what they've done, which is make it very clear to the player that we want him this summer. He is our transfer priority, and we effectively are saying, if you want to come here, we will get you. So let's wait and see what happens with that. Whether he should be the right man or not, a lot of people in the chat will say Tchouaméni. I don't think Tchouaméni's viable for Manchester United. I personally don't think we've looked at him in any great depth like Real Madrid have or even Chelsea have. I think he's a fan signing, and I think you're right. I remember talking about Fabinho like this a few years ago. I don't think United have put the work in on Tchouaméni. I don't think United are considering Tchouaméni. We certainly weren't last summer, and I don't know what's. I just don't think we've. I don't think we have. I think if he's coming to the Premier League, he's not coming to Manchester United. That's disappointing. He'll be half the price of Declan Rice, and he's probably as good, if not going to be better. But this is unfortunately a problem with Manchester United, that they seem happier to spend £80 million on an England player than spending £40 million on a player who's good, but is from Europe. And I wish we would change that. Maybe if we get Erik ten Hag, we will. But just before we move on from this, it's also very clear again that contracts like 5-year deals for Bruno Fernandes are being signed off without the new manager's knowledge. Declan Rice is being told, we really, really want you, without the new manager's knowledge. And people will say, well, maybe the new manager knows. Who's the new manager? We haven't got a new manager. They haven't decided who the new manager's going to be. So all this nonsense that we had in January about we're not going to renew any contracts, we're not going to sign any players, they're working on deals. They're speaking to players saying, we want you, we want you. They're handing out contracts, and we haven't even got a new manager. Not a criticism, but 4 months ago you were for Manish. Watch the Manish. I'm sorry. Like, if you're not going to watch every show, it's like bloody repeats for other people who watched the show last night. I spoke about that last night, mate. I'm not going to spend time on a news show, repeating what we discussed for 5 minutes last night. Watch last night's show if you want the answer to that question. It's boring for everybody else. It's boring for me to spend more time talking about something I spoke about last night. Rice and Bruno just re-signed. Let's go. Good starting block for Ten Hag. Love the show, says Pat. He's rhymed as well. Well done, Pat. So yeah, look, Declan Rice will be a priority. Let's see what happens with Chelsea there. Want to talk about Erik ten Hag very quickly. Tour, we spoke about this yesterday. The tour will take place in Australia and Bangkok. Not Bandcock, that's something completely different. Bangkok, which I believe, I'm not great on geography, but is Bangkok in Thailand? I've never been. Interesting place apparently. Can get confusing. That's all I'm going to say, but I've never been. But the reality is, we are playing Liverpool on the 12th of July in Bangkok. We're then playing Melbourne Victory, is it, on the 15th in Melbourne, funnily enough. And then on the following 19th, we're playing Crystal Palace in Melbourne as well. So we've got a week of of a tour in Bangkok and Australia. So that's where Manchester United are going to be. It's a quick one, isn't it? We'll probably be there a couple of weeks, all in 2.5 weeks. I'm not massively opposed to it. It's a training tour, isn't it? At the end of the day, there'll be a lot of media work there, but it's a training tour. So let's hope that we have Eric Ten Hag in place. We get our transfer business done, and we go out there and use it for what it is. I mean, it'd be nice for the fans in that area of the world. Of course it will, but I hope that we use it for what it is, which is a chance to train hard under a new manager and get ready for a new season. People criticise for not watching every show. Weird, says Reese. Reese, I love your little super chat, Reese. You don't have to watch every show. I guided that person to last night's show because actually I don't think it's fair on a news show in the first 10 minutes to discuss an individual comment about something that was discussed last night when it's a news show. Don't have to watch every show. In fact, Reese, piss off and make yourself a cup of coffee and don't watch the show at all. I don't care. What I'm actually saying is that question was answered in depth last night, and it's the same old question all the time. You wanted Pep in November. You've changed your mind, you flip-flop. I haven't changed my mind. What happened in November is that we were told that Poch was available. Nobody else was available. So a lot of people went, well, we just had Ollie, I'll take Poch. Then we got an interim in because they said they were going to wait till the summer and have a proper search. And at that moment, people went, well, I don't want Poch then. I want Ten Hag because he wasn't available in November. Very, very simple. Very, very simple. Is the Greenwood story true, Mark? Says Jay Ling's fam. I don't really want to talk about this either. Right, okay. I tweeted about it, so I suppose I should mention it on the show. A Twitter account today said there's a rumour that Mason Greenwood's going to be back in the Man United squad. Now, I don't really want to talk about this because it's an ongoing police investigation, but I suppose I can do it in a very sensitive way for all parties. Mason Greenwood's not going to be back in the Manchester United squad until there is resolvement around these criminal charges. I don't see Manchester United putting Mason Greenwood in the Manchester United squad anytime soon. It would be ridiculous. Apparently his face and everything is on the Manchester United squad on the website. Some people are saying it was taken off. Some people are saying it was always there. That's all I can say about that. The reality is he shouldn't be anywhere near a Manchester United squad with the allegations that are against him. But as many people will say, you're innocent till you're proven guilty. Having said that, there is also the opinion of public opinion. And if he played for Manchester United right now, there would be uproar. If he played for Manchester United, if these charges were dropped, his life in football would not be very good. I mean, we talk about Harry Maguire being booed for not playing football well. Imagine Mason Greenwood playing for Manchester United any time in the next year, even if these cases get dropped. Whether that's right or wrong, you know what public opinion's like. I would say, at the end of the day, he's under investigation for very serious charges, and we must wait and see what happens. But Mason Greenwood in a Manchester United shirt, I would say, is not advisable any time in the next year, regardless of what happens, because that is something that I wouldn't envy the player or Manchester United dealing with. But ultimately, it's very insensitive to talk about these things because there is a victim in this case at the moment and they are very serious allegations. And I think anybody saying, oh, I can't wait for the player to come back, really, you need to have a long, hard look at yourself because at the moment, that is an ongoing investigation and Manchester United's issues cannot be solved by saying, I wish he was back. It's really insensitive. So hopefully that's covered it in a fair way. It's very good for his fans in Australia. I'm looking forward to it, says Dominique. And hi, Mark. Is it true that the next manager will be announced to the players today at the Aon training complex? Could be crap, but you know more than me, says Slow Sports News. I've not heard anything about that, Slow Sports News. I've not heard anything about that at all. So I've got no idea. No idea at all. Bubbles, you're banned. Moderators, you know what to do. Anybody saying stuff like that, just get rid of them. It's scum. Don't need scum like that in the chat. I'm afraid you will not be putting on things in the chat about things like that. It's disgusting. The allegations are disgusting, and you know, backing someone when you know absolutely nothing about it is disgusting as well. Anyway, I'm going to move on. We're all desperate. I even said it's... is there anything to play for this season, or is it better just to try and go for a new manager, says James? Well, we've got to play the games ahead of us, of course we have. We'll do a preview later. I want to talk about the manager now. There's a little bit of an update overnight. It's coming from the... what outlet is this coming from? It's coming from the Times. So they're saying it's understood that Ajax will make another effort to try and persuade Erik ten Hag to stay at the club and see out his contract, which expires at the end of next season. Manchester United are facing competition from a number of other clubs, including one based in Germany, for the signature of Erik ten Hag. I mean, you could say that's slow sports news, because at the end of the day, Erik ten Hag being chased by other clubs has been confirmed by people like Fabrizio and other people over the last week. I think we all know there's a truth to that now, that there are other clubs looking at Erik ten Hag. But what I would say is that it's Manchester United. If Man United offer him the job, I think he'll take the United job. It's the biggest job available. I'm sorry, there's no job in Germany that's bigger than Man United, because Bayern Munich job's not up for grabs. There's no job in the Premier League that's bigger than Man United, because the Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea jobs are not up for grabs. So Man United's the biggest job available to Erik ten Hag if we offer it to him, and he will take it. So I'm not massively concerned about other clubs being interested for him, because at the end of the day, it's a compliment. It just shows you how good a manager he is. There's a lot of people interested in him. As I said, if he waits a year and Pep goes in a year, I think he'd end up being Man City manager. I really, truly do believe that. But ultimately, it's Man United's opportunity. There's no way he's going to stay at Ajax for another year if Manchester United put the job offer in. So I'm not worried about either of those updates. Of course Ajax want him to stay for a year, but they won't stand in his way. We know that. Of course there's other clubs that want him, but nobody can offer him the Man United job like we can. So I'm not worried about either of those updates. Do I think we're going to announce this deal anytime soon? Well, let me just go back to Slow Sports News. Manchester United are going to announce their manager to the players this morning at Carrington. That is not going to happen, and I'll tell you for why. Manchester United players leak like a sieve. So if Man United were going to tell their players who the manager's going to be, you're going to know who the manager is by 10:30, because a couple of those players are going to say, "Ralph, can I have a wee?" Yeah, they'll leg it inside, they'll get on the phone, they'll get onto their source, and they'll get onto their bloody journo, and that'll be out within an hour. So there's no way Manchester United will tell their players who the manager's going to be today without briefing the press as well, because the press will... You can't, basically, you can't tell Man United playing squad anything without it going to the press. So you may as well brief the press at the same time you brief the players. So United telling the players before anybody else ain't going to happen, I'm afraid. United waiting for ten Hag to go to another club for an excuse to get Pochettino, says David. That would be embarrassing, David, though. I don't agree with that as well. I'm all for the conspiracy theories. I'm all for the, I get it. I'm quite negative myself about Man United's appointment of Pochettino. I still fear they'll do it. But that would be a major... That would be worse than appointing Poch. Appointing Poch because Ten Hag's gone somewhere else would be a major L for Manchester United, let's be honest. And look, I'm not gonna start the day on a negative tone on the manager. The reality is, everywhere you look, it looks like Ten Hag's getting the job. I really, really hope that's the case, and I applaud Manchester United if they do it. Don't forget, Poch was only decent a few years ago when City and the Scousers were on their rebuild. Their managers had only just arrived, says Daniel Longbottom. Wow, yeah, Daniel, you're right. I mean, you got Gary Neville yesterday saying, I want Poch because I trained with him for a week 5 or 6 years ago. What, 5 or 6 years ago, Liverpool weren't relevant. As you said, United was still shit. And he still only managed to win 3 away games in 27 against the top 6. And he still had a terrible record against the top 6. So, and that was 5 or 6 years ago. He's not the manager he was then. Pochettino's not the manager he was 5 or 6 years ago. He's regressed. Mark, if you were to pick an ex-United player to be Ten Hag's assistant, who would you pick? I'd probably go for someone like Van Persie, because he's Dutch. And I think that would be something familiar for Erik ten Hag, who is also Dutch. And also, I think that Van Persie, although he never played for Ajax, he knows the Dutch way, he knows the Dutch training methods, and I think that you've got to go for familiarity that way. If they really want an ex-United player, I would go for someone like Robin van Persie. I think it will be good to announce the manager ASAP, so the players who won't like it can go, says Dominic. I agree. Hi Mark, I would love Ten Hag at United. However, if I were him, I would stay as far as he can away from the club. Chances of failing much higher, says Akil. No, you see, that's the reason. Akil, if I was Ten Hag, I would take the job. Maybe it's an ego thing, but I would believe that I could... The opportunity to be the man that wins that first trophy for United, you're a god. If you win the league, you're a great. Like, football's a very egotistical sport. I don't think that's lost on anybody. And if you're a manager, you've got to believe in yourself. I'd be all over that Man United job. I would want it more than anything because I would want to prove to the world I'm the man who rebuilt Manchester United. Yes, there's a risk that you can fail, but you know, you're walking a tightrope, aren't you? If you're not willing to walk the tightrope to get to the goal, then well, I might fall off. You're never going to score anyway. You've got to go for it. But no, I would go for Van Persie. And it's interesting. I was reading something yesterday. I forget who it was, and they were bigging up John Murtaugh and Darren Fletcher and saying, "Wow, you know, they know more about football than any of the fans." And I'm like, "Oh, hold on a minute. Are we going back to this world now where we decide these people are good and these people are bad, even though there's no evidence of it?" Darren Fletcher's got no CV. Like, he hasn't... Oh, he's got badges. Yeah, he's very young. Very young in the world of technical director, coaching. Fletcher's right at the start of his journey. So let's not pretend he's some guru on what's good for United. Wow, yeah, but he's won European Cups. He's won league titles. I mean, I'll say it again. Paul Gascoigne was one of the world's best players. You wouldn't trust him to go to the shops and buy your groceries, let alone pick your manager. So let's not pretend a good footballing CV makes you a good coach or a good technical director. Darren Fletcher hopefully will become very good for United, but let's not make him something he's not. He's right at the start of his journey. And John Murtaugh, well look, John Murtaugh was brought in from Everton in the Moyes era, and he's been promoted through the club. I still think those two do not deserve, oh, they're really good at their job. The next few months will dictate whether they are potentially good at their job. Will they appoint the right manager? Will they make the right signings in the summer? If they go and get Poch and Kane, I'm sorry, they're just reading the bloody manual of the last 9 years. There's nothing revolutionary there. If they want to be considered good people within Manchester United, they know the path they need to go down. It's intelligent signings and it's Erik ten Hag. Let's wait and see. Let's not start bigging them up before a decision's been made. It's the old mountains and troughs again, isn't it? Oh, they're great. No, they're not. Yes, they are. No, they're not. After Rice's tweet defending Maguire, I'm scared he's another of the English clique and at 100 million he's so overpriced. Really hope we go for Tchouameni, says Kazan. Look, I do like Harry Maguire. I do like Declan Rice. I think he's a good player, but he will be part of the England clique. He's mad big friends with Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire. Would love it if Cantona were a football coach. He'd bring standards and intensity like a mix of Keane and Conte, says Marcus Laird. Mark, how can you see Maguire adapting to a Ten Hag system, says Paul. And the scouts have badges too, says Glenn. Well, look, that's a little bit topical. I want to talk about Rashford apparently wanting to leave, but there was. Let me just read this to you because I don't want to get this. I don't want to get this wrong. So this came out last night from Mike McGrath. I think he writes for the Mail. Harry Maguire is not planning on posting on social media beyond describing England's friendly wins as an enjoyable week playing for my country, and is believed to be clear and focused on what needs to be done to return to his best form. So basically, if that's true, we won't see Harry Maguire on social media anymore. Good. Probably should have done it 6 months ago. You're a footballer for Manchester United. Why are you focusing on social media? If the club are pressuring you to do it, tell them to stop. Your form's been terrible all season in a red shirt, and you need to focus on that. And hopefully you're doing your homework. Hopefully you're analysing your game from a year ago when you were decent. Hopefully you're analysing your game this season, looking at things like why when Varane doesn't play and you play with Lindelof, we get stuffed. And then when Varane plays, we're playing well because Varane is better than you. Maybe look at how Varane's defending. Maybe look at the mistakes you've made this season. Analyse your game. Go back to the basics. Much the same as Marcus Rashford. Start doing the basics right. I can only applaud that. Whether he can do it, let's give him a chance. Ultimately, I think some of these players think that the world is against them. They're not. they're critiquing a player that's not playing well. It is allowed. If you start playing well, there will be some. There'll always be some. There'll always be some fans that don't like you no matter what. There's fans who don't like Ronaldo. There's fans that don't like Bruno. There's fans that don't like Pogba, and they don't like them no matter what. But the vast majority, and I see it every day in the community, yeah, they'll get on your back when you're not playing well, but they'll support you when you do. And sometimes one good game and you'll get a load of support. I think sometimes what we don't appreciate is, and we all know these fans in the fan base, look at McTominay or Fred. They'll play crap for 6 weeks. They'll put one good game in, and that's my midfielder. So it can go the other way as well. Let's not always pretend that fans are negative. There are some fans in our fan base who are over positive. Like they see one good pass and they think we've got the new Pirlo. So yeah, I agree with this. Focus on your game, because ultimately, if I'm being blunt, I'm not convinced Harry Maguire really has a future at this club. Not if we want to win trophies. I think his style of defending doesn't suit a modern side. I think he's a back five deep defensive line player, or he's a player that does reasonably well when you're dominating a side and he hasn't got to worry about the ball in behind. Where we want to go, does he fit? Look, give him a chance. Give him a chance. He was a good player once. I just don't know whether he actually has the attributes to be a good player where we want to go. But give him a chance. And the door's always open for people to have a chance. I don't know why they get so bitter and twisted about it. You've played crap this season, and people have said you've played crap. That's it. Start playing well and people will say you're playing well. I think Erik ten Hag is done. Maybe the delay is because they're deciding when to announce the deal, as Ajax is still in a title fight, says D7. I hope so. And also, I mean, look, this is a really thin story. I saw it I think it was at MUFC MPB on Twitter. I've mentioned that account before. I like that account. It's very good on transfer stories. They tweeted something this morning from, was it Football Insider or something like that? So I wouldn't say it's a good source by any means, but basically it was saying that Marcus Rashford wants to leave Manchester United. The information I've got is that's not true at all. Marcus Rashford doesn't want to leave Manchester United. He wants to stay at Manchester United. He's very unhappy about what's happening because basically he wants to be a star player for Manchester United and stay here playing for United. His frustration, and there is a frustration, is that he's not playing well for Manchester United and he's not starting games. He wants to be a star at that club. That's where he thought he was heading. And I don't criticise the lad for this. I think, 2 years ago, 5 Rounds podcast says if Rashford wants to leave, we have to let him leave. Of course. If he wants to go, let him go. But I don't believe he does want to go. And I believe that Rashford's going through something that he probably didn't expect. I think a couple of years ago, he was playing well. He's in his early 20s and he thinks, I'm here for my whole career. I'm going to be the superstar of this team. Look at what's happening off the pitch. I'm really, everything's great in my life. And then he picked up the injuries. Then he recovered from the injuries, but he hasn't recovered his form. And now people are like, well, you're on the bench because that's where you deserve to be. You might be a big superstar off the pitch, but you're not the superstar on the pitch. And I think it must be difficult for the lad. Ultimately, I don't think we sympathise with these players enough sometimes, that the fact that it's difficult for Harry Maguire. Of course it is. But elite level sports isn't just about what you do with your feet, it's about what you do with your head. And what people need to realise is that criticism is a negative. You need to turn that negative into a positive. And the reality is the criticism is correct. You're not playing well. But if you treat that criticism as a positive and say, well, they're having a go at me because I'm not playing well, I'm in control of how I play, therefore I'm in control of the criticism. Because if I start playing well, they're criticising me because I'm not playing well. You're always going to get haters, but the vast majority of criticism will disappear if you start playing well. So ultimately, it's a mindset thing, isn't it? If I'm Rashford or I'm Maguire and I'm getting down because I'm not playing well and the criticism I'm getting, you're in control of the criticism. Because the criticism is because you're not playing well. And you're not playing well, which means you're in control of you not playing well. So if you start playing better, you will control the criticism and it will lessen. And that is the battle. And I hope surely people are having this chat with them. Surely. Maybe they're not taking it on board, but surely somebody's having this chat with them. Because for Rashford, it might be difficult. You might not be enjoying it, but you're in control. You can change it around. And if you want to go, you're in control as well. But if you want to stay, you're in control. I don't believe Marcus Rashford wants to leave Manchester United. I don't believe Manchester United want to sell Marcus Rashford. But if there is an offer for him, and he wants to go, I'd respect that. Because to be honest with you, I said it a few weeks ago, maybe Marcus Rashford moving away from Manchester United is right for Rashford and right for Manchester United. Sometimes it is. And look, he's not going to go and play for bloody Reading. He's going to go and play for a Juventus. He's going to maybe a PSG. Maybe they would go for him. There would be good clubs willing to take a chance on Rashford. And maybe a fresh start's the right move. But I don't think we're anywhere near that. Mark, have you heard anything about the apparent board meeting today and a possible decision, says Glenn Chaplin? No, I don't know where this is coming from, Glenn. I mean, really, I was just recording something before this show and then I've gone live with you. So you might be up to date on a few things more than me. Z says, I'm sure the United board will give a leg, an arm to buy out this channel. They will be fuming every day watching you see through them. Says Z. Well, we're open to offers. With Rashford, you always start with I like Rashford, but whereas with Maguire, you seem to hate everything about him. Rashford actually has been worse, but him making a mistake doesn't as clearly cost us goals. But James, I mean, like we all have players we prefer. That's not. I don't want to turn this into a psychology lesson, but James, I think whilst you speak a lot of truth there, you've brought the word hate into it. I don't have hate in my life, so I don't hate Harry Maguire. I don't hate Fred. I don't hate things because hate is I've learnt in life that hate is a really negative energy to have in your life, and I don't hate. I might say the word hate. Oh, I hate that. I hate Mango. But I don't really hate Mango. I don't hate anything. So I don't like it when people say, oh, you never say anything positive about Maguire, but you do say it about Rashford because you hate Maguire. It's not. What it is, James, is that if I'm absolutely honest with you, I have players that I prefer. Rashford's always been a player that I like. Martial, Bruno. But I've criticised all three players. I mean, Bruno this year has pissed me off. His petulance has pissed me off. Rashford this year has been crap. Martial last year was crap. But of course, every kid, every man, every woman, they're all going to have a player that they prefer. It's why they have a name on the back of their shirt. I prefer Marcus Rashford to Harry Maguire. Of course I do. If I had to choose between which player I would sell, it would be Harry Maguire. And probably, and it's not hate, if I look at it, both of them have had really bad seasons and they deserve the criticism about their performances. But if you said to me, we're on a boat, there's two planks, Marcus Rashford and Harry Maguire, you've got to get rid of one of them. I'm sorry, Harry, there's some armbands, you're in the sea. Because, of course, Marcus Rashford's the player I'd rather keep. But what I will say, James, is, and the evidence is there with me and many others as well, I was saying about 3 years ago, Matic is finished, he's a bag of cement, static Matic, get rid of him. He then came back around Christmas time, just before COVID, and was brilliant with Fred. And then after COVID, in that summer, he was brilliant with Bruno and Pogba. And I went, you know what? He's not proved me wrong, but he's turned it around. There you go. If Harry Maguire comes back and starts playing well next season, I will say he's turned it around. I've got no problem with that. If Scott McTominay becomes the next Roy Keane, I will say, I tell you what, he shocked me. There's a pig flying by the window. But he shocked me and I need to wake up. But no, he shocked me on a serious note and well done to him. He's turned it around. There's nothing I want more than for Manchester United to succeed and these players to succeed. But as I said at the start of the show, we are mountains and valleys FC. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. The mentality in that football club is wrong. From top to bottom, it's wrong. If I can say it and you can say it, they need to get... There might be people in the club who've got this mentality. Put the world in my hands and it's not enough. I want more. That's the mentality that Man United should have, like I said at the start. That's the standards. Give us a treble, we want it again. Like, some people are, an FA Cup's all right. Mountains and valleys. We need that mentality in the club that we had with Sir Alex, that we had with Roy Keane, that we had with some of these players that we've had. It's never enough. No matter what it is, it's never enough because we've got to go and do it again. Never enough. Where is that mentality at Manchester United? And if that mentality is in there, why is it not winning through to everybody else? There's too many barriers in there. Maybe there's somebody in the dressing room who's going, it's never enough. We've got to keep winning. We've got to win everything. Not this mountains and valleys. And people. There must be people in the dressing room, what you want about. We need that mentality in that team right the way through. And we don't. We've got So many players are up and down. Oh, they had a good 3 months, they're shit again. Up and down. Mountains and valleys FC. We need a mentality that is elite. We need to come off the pitch. And you know how we do the player ratings, and some people, like 6 is average and 7's good and 8's very good. We need to come off the pitch where most of our players have played very good, and the captain who is listened to, or the players who are listened to, says, that was good, lads, but we could have done loads better. I want 9s next week. Because that's what Liverpool and Man City are doing. United are coming off with 6s and 5s and going, well, I wasn't that bad. We were 4 last week. I think Rashford needs to leave, says Sean Turner. It's best for all parties. He isn't good enough to play for United. It isn't down to injuries. He's just an average player and he's miles off Sancho's level. Well, that's an opinion, Sean, isn't it? That is an opinion. And I certainly don't think you're in the minority with that opinion. But ultimately... I can't repeat what that is there. I wish I could. I don't think I can repeat that because it's. I'm not going off. I'm not going to do that. But ultimately, yeah, that is where we are on the morning show. Now we have got a preview coming up for you, very soon. We have won a title here. Man United have the highest digital value in the entire sports world, creating $209 million in the last year, comfortably ahead of second placed Barcelona, according to a new report from @Horizim Sports. Manchester United are the most valuable digital team in the entire world. But you know what? I know for a fact none of you would celebrate that, but that is easily beatable for Barcelona and Real Madrid if they're successful on the pitch. The great thing about digital world is, we're number one on TikTok, we're number one here, is that other clubs can look at United and go, well, they did that to be successful, let's replicate it. As long as you're a successful team on the pitch, you can beat United digitally because you just copy what they've done and gradually you'll go past them. What United can only keep going into new markets well for so long with a shit team. Ultimately, your success is driven by your team. If United's, in a sentence or two, United's digital or social media wealth comes from fans that became Man United fans over the last 30 years under successful Sir Alex Ferguson teams. The reason Glazers are reaping benefits of being number one on TikTok or number one on digital is because our fan base is so big from the fan base that grew through the 90s, noughties under Sir Alex. That fan base is going to dip over the next 20 years if we continue down the path we are. All fan bases are built on success. It just takes time to build. Man City's fan base will keep growing and growing over the next 20 years. United's fan base will start dipping over the next 20 years because there's a lag. You can't just win. Newcastle can't win the title next year and suddenly have the same fan base as United. They've got to do it year after year after year, and in 20 years' time they'll have a much bigger fan base. Man United don't go from winning titles for 20 years and then suddenly lose all their fans. It will take 20 years for it to erode, and it is going to start to erode. So all this, we're really successful, we're making loads of money on digital. You're making money from success of the last 30 years. And if you stick being unsuccessful, that money's going to start dropping off because Man United fans abroad are going to start supporting Barcelona and Man City and Chelsea because that's what it is like worldwide. The way fans around the world support fans is very different to the way you think people do. Even in the UK, it's changing. I'll take my daughter to football and you'll see other teams turning up in their kits and they'll be in Man City fans, Chelsea fans, Barcelona, Real Madrid. 20 years ago, most of them would have been United. Not anymore. It's changing. The world is changing with the Ute. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. We're back at 2 o'clock with a preview. Have a good day. Obviously, if anything breaks, we've got a forum tonight as well at 8 o'clock. Take care, everyone, and I will speak to you all very soon.